Welcome to The Explainer. We love digging into complex research and making it super clear. And today, we've got a fascinating one. We're diving into the delicate dance of power and emotion that happens inside family businesses. So, let's kick things off with a question. When you think of a family business, what's the first thing that comes to mind? For a lot of us, it's this idea that they're all about control, right? Keeping a super tight grip on everything to build a dynasty for the next generation. But what if that's not the whole story? It sounds a little crazy, I know, but a really fascinating study of over 200 family businesses in India found this incredible paradox that kind of flips everything we thought we knew on its head. And this is the puzzle we're trying to solve today. Why on earth would a family ever choose to loosen its grip on the company they built? It just seems so counterintuitive. But it turns out the answer has less to do with business strategy and a whole lot more to do with protecting the family itself. To solve this puzzle, the researchers needed a couple of key ideas. They pulled one from the world of business and another, interestingly enough, from psychology. Let's check them out. Okay, so think of these two big ideas as the clues we need to solve our mystery. They're going to help us understand not just what families care about, but also when. And this is the important part, when those priorities can just completely flip. All right, first up, we have this concept called socio-emotional wealth. Let's just call it SEW for short. Now, this has nothing to do with money. It's all the other stuff a family gets from owning a business. Things like pride, their reputation in the community, that shared sense of identity. A great way to think of it is as the family's emotional bank account. It's the what they cherish beyond just profits. Okay, clue number two comes from psychology. It's called socio-emotional selectivity theory, or SST. And the idea is actually pretty simple and relatable. When we feel like we have all the time in the world, we tend to focus on long-term goals, learning new things, building for the future. But when our perspective on time shrinks, maybe because of a crisis, our priorities shift. Suddenly that emotionally meaningful stuff like our relationships becomes way more important. So this theory gives us the when. It's the trigger. All right, so we have the what, that emotional wealth, and we have the when, that shift in our perception of time. So how do they connect? Well, the researchers put them together to create what they call a time-emotion mechanism. It's basically a framework that shows how a family's focus can do a complete 180, shifting from hard-nosed business goals to super personal, emotional ones. Okay, so this diagram from the study basically lays out the whole chain reaction. Now, I know it might look a little complicated, but don't worry, the idea behind it is simple. You see, it all starts at the top with some kind of trigger. That trigger causes a shift in goals, which makes the family rethink what's really important, and that ultimately changes their decisions about control. Let's walk through it step by step. So here's how it plays out. First, something happens, a trigger. Maybe it's health crisis, a huge family fight, or the founder is about to retire. Whatever it is, it makes the future feel, well, shorter. And that flips a switch in their brains. Suddenly, all those business goals, like maximizing control, just don't seem as important anymore. What is important? Keeping the family together. And to protect those emotional bonds, the desire for tight control can actually fade away. Okay, so this whole time emotion thing sounds pretty neat in theory, right? But does it actually happen in the real world? Is this how people really behave? Well, this is where the study of those 218 businesses comes in. And the answer they found is a big, resounding yes. All right, get ready because this graph right here is the aha moment of the entire study. It's where everything just clicks. So let's break it down. On the bottom, you've got how much the family wants to pass the business on to the next generation. And on the side, you have how much control they want. But the real magic is in those two lines. They show what happens when a family's concern for that emotional bank account is either low or high. And here it is, the paradox, right in front of us. First, look at the blue line. This is what we'd all expect, right? When emotional concerns are low, the more you want to pass on the business, the tighter you grip the reins. That line goes up. Simple. But now, look at the red line. This is the mind blower. When emotional harmony is a top priority, that link between legacy and control, it just vanishes. It's gone. The line is totally flat. It means no matter how much they want to pass the business on, they are not tightening their control to do it. Why? Because harmony has become more important. This table just shows so clearly why putting these two theories together is such a game changer. The old way of thinking would just say, impending succession, tighten control. Family disagreement, tighten control. But this new combined theory gives us a much more nuanced and frankly, a much more human answer. It shows us that sometimes to save the family, you might actually have to loosen your grip on the business. It explains those situations the old control-at-all-cost model could never make sense of. So when we put all this together, what's the big takeaway? The main thing to remember is that it's never as simple as choosing between the business and the family. It's not strategy versus emotion. Instead, what these families are really dealing with is a constant push and pull dynamic. There's this constant push to secure the business, to keep control, to build that legacy. But at the exact same time, there's this powerful pull to secure the family itself, to keep the peace, and to prioritize emotional well-being. And the researchers themselves summed it up perfectly. They said that, yeah, wanting to pass down the business makes you want to hold on tight. But when those emotional priorities become salient, which just means they're staring you right in the face and you can't ignore them, your attention can literally shift. It moves away from formal control and squarely onto preserving harmony. This research gives us an incredible new way to understand family businesses, but it also leaves us with a really powerful question that applies to every single one of us. In your own life, when you have to make a huge decision, what really guides you? Is it the logical long-term plan? Or is it that immediate, powerful, human need to keep the peace and protect the relationships that matter most? It's something to think about for sure.